I'm curious. We know Dr. Diamond did not testify, but could the defense make this argument in summation anyway as a matter of common human experience that we've all gone through? And so many decent people that I know, again, that I know personally and that I prosecuted, who had, this very thing happen of leaving a child in a car. And then secondly, I mentioned that opinion. Secondly, the charge of murder as opposed to manslaughter. The prosecutors here are biting off a lot here. They're saying this was his purposeful idea, premeditated plan to kill Connor. What are your thoughts about all that?
So I'll take your first question first. I certainly think that this could have been part of the closing argument. I also think it could have been part of an opening. In fact, Bob, when I used to try criminal cases, we would use voir dire for exactly this kind of purpose. To the extent the court would allow it, there were so many opportunities to ask the jury for hypotheticals during the course of your questioning and try to lay the seed. They wouldn't know anything about the allegations at that point in the trial, but we would often ask, lay the seed. Maybe it was somebody, if the case was dealing with eyewitness testimony, which was often the case, we would get into hypotheticals. If you were in a crowded bar with a lot of people and there was a gunshot, do you rule out the possibility that you might not have gotten a good look at the person? Everybody raised their hand that disagrees, right? You just kind of start laying that seed all the way through closing arguments. So I certainly believe and hope that these arguments were made in closing, because it isn't a stretch to believe that this was an accident. To your second question regarding malice murder versus manslaughter, look, this is, I think, when I first reviewed this case, it was my initial impression that the prosecutors overreached. There are certainly enough child abuse cases that fall in the realm of not intentional conduct, but being reckless to the degree is to arguably what occurred here, that they could have gotten a similar sentence, certainly something very impactful, without arguing intentional conduct on behalf of this man. It is such a stretch to believe that this entire day was an organized, well thought out plot. It just doesn't make sense on any reasonable basis, certainly not beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, manslaughter, that's a different story. It doesn't require intentional conduct. There are different levels of manslaughter, but at the end of the day, if your behavior rises to the level that someone could lose their life and you were acting in a way reckless or unreasonable, you can be guilty for that crime. The most common one we see is drunk driving causing death, right? You tend to kill anyone.
Jamie, I'm sorry. I agree with you completely, but we have to take a quick break here at the Law and Crime Network.